Hey everyone, Sycra here, and I'm here with the amazingly talented and skilled artist Xia Taptara.
Hi.
Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and just
Um. Yeah, I'm Zia. Hi, guys. How are you?
um, so for people who aren't familiar with your work, you're the founder of the artclasses.com.
Yep. It used to be called idrawgirls.com, but then it grew up.
I think most people would
Officially.
recognize you from idrawgirls.com.
Probably because
Yeah.
like it's on Twitter, on Facebook, and all that stuff. I should have thought it through, but I didn't. Thought it was funny at the time, but could be creepy.
How'd you get that name?
Just in the when I work at ArenaNet in the office, because I always design like female armor and design hairs and costume and all that crap. So they just kind of, hey, why don't you just do I draw girls? So because you always draw girls. I was like, no, I don't always draw. I draw monsters sometimes, but we just go with that name.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of peer pressure.
Yeah, somewhat. And the domain was available, so my was stupid.
So I got to confess, like you are one of my art heroes. I probably
Thanks. You also have come a long way. It's like I seen you a few years ago, and now your art's like, whoa, that's pretty awesome.
I
Oh,
remember you from Cygen, probably like back in 2003.
oh crap!
That's where I got to know you. I used a
Oh,
different name.
that's when Jamie Jones and
Yeah, that's when Craig Mullins used to actually post.
yeah,
Oh
Mullins. Oh
man,
my God, those guys, they're so crazy. John,
crazy.
Jamie apparently working on Superman right now, and Richard, Richard Anderson. I think
Right.
he's working on some movie, and Doc's working on the new movie coming out, the Pacific Rim. Yeah, those are all my coworkers. They're really good. I'm like here doing nothing, just hanging out. No movie for me. Uh,
No, no, but where are you working right now?
oh, I'm just working with Square and Enix on new stuff. I don't know I don't know what it is yet. I can't say what it is yet, but
Right.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's a new
no, but
project.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
and then Kekai is working on Bungie with Halo. Not
right.
Halo. Halo is gone now. Halo is with Microsoft, so Bungie and
Right. Right.
all those guys are like awesome. Yep.
So, you got a lot of friends in high places.
No, we all used to work at the internet. Just they started as a small company, but apparently we just have a really good art director that hire a bunch of people who are better than me, and then I learned a bunch from a lot of them.
Who's the art
Yeah.
director? Is it Daniel Doshi?
Yep, Daniel Doshu. He's still there. I still like see him. I saw him a few weeks ago when I went to lunch, and he's just walking by, so it's cool.
What's it
Yeah.
like working for him? Because I
Uh,
saw him at a conference and he's like a pretty intense guy.
yeah, you could say that. But he's a good boss. He'll teach you. He teach me a lot of stuff. He taught me like pretty much more than half of the stuff I know right now. So it's
Wow.
like it's not like official teaching. It just he would just come around. He's just like, hey, maybe you should change this, change that, and then it would be a bit better if you change the lighting or the skin color or whatever it is. He has an eye for things. That's why he's an art director.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and he always like push you up forward. Like if he know you can do it, he'd be like, hey, this is slacking off work. You should maybe redo it. I was like, okay, yeah.
Hmm. All right. So we've been talking a bit about like what you're doing right now, but I actually wanted to begin by going way back to when you started. So right in the beginning,
Oh,
yeah, way back when.
way back when I just used pencil. I was working with Bobby Pontelius. You can I maybe I'll post his blog. He just he was we used to work at a little children game company. We're making game for like Disney and for Pixar 2D. So we like 2D animator. So I don't know anything about like painting, digital painting. That was like back in 2003.
Hmm.
And now Bobby is working on working with Pixar now. I think Pixar and Disney. He worked. His last movie was Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, he was pretty awesome. So I learned a lot of animation from that guy. Like we worked together, but he's way better than me. And then I started to get into digital painting, and then Bobby started getting into like a 3D, and then we came and work at ArenaNet together, and then before it would split.
Okay, so do you do 3D at all yourself, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you do.
In the beginning, when I started digital painting, I wasn't that good, so I get on to uh, ArenaNet by doing both concept and then 3D at the same time. And then in the beginning, I just do like creatures or little, you know, things before I move on to the character, like a couple years after. And then in the end, like by the time I got to like 2007, 2008, I do basically mainly character and armor. And then,
Okay.
yeah, when it gets a little too hard, like Mudbox coming to get involved, and now they have like a normal map and all that kind of crap. So I have to decide to like, hey, maybe I'll just either be a 3D artist or 2D artist, and I decided to go 2D. So
Okay. And
yeah,
has that been easier or more difficult to
um,
be?
it's easy. It's not like easier or harder. It's like the harder you work on it, or if you like it, then it'll be pretty easy. Like I wouldn't mind doing it like 12 hours a day, and you know. But I don't enjoy 3D that much. I mean, I did, but I don't when you have to like spend um, about a week to get the whole character done. I used to be able to like pull off like one character a day, and then now when you have like ZBrush involved, Mudbox, and all those a bunch of map that layer on top, that's gonna take like a couple of weeks to get a character done, and then I'm not really. I'm more like a quick kind of guy, like concept. That's what we do. But
Right.
like when I make 3D, I just like whoop whoop whoop, low poly, just make it texture it in one day and done. But yeah,
Okay.
I need more patience.
Oh, to do 3D, you need more patience.
Yeah, I think so. Or like
Okay.
more detail oriented.
And real quick, I wanted to go over this because a lot of people who talk to me, they say they want to be concept artists, and they'll show me their portfolio, but it's all illustration. So I wanted to just ask you, as someone in the field, what's the difference between concept art and illustration?
Ooh, this is well, there's a most concept art. I think I'm the character concept guy, so and I do a bunch of character. You can cross over between character, environment, and illustration. But if you like industrial design guy, you can do a bunch of environmental concept and a lot of high concept. And then, but usually they don't do illustration. But usually, if you do a bunch of character, you can do like book covers, card games, and concept design. So it's kind of overlapping a little here and there.
Hmm.
It depends on what you specialize in. But I think it's better if you do environmental concept. There'll be a lot more concept, and then you can also like design, like actual things like iPod or um, whatever you use every day, like chair and all those things. So it's kind of it's hard to explain, but once you like get into it, you can decide where you want to go from there. But um, how do I explain? But concept is pretty fun. It's pretty hard to get there, but when you get there, it's pretty fun.
Okay.
But it requires a lot of like you have to be fast, accurate, and make it look good.
So pretty much concept is more about the idea and
Yeah, pretty much. You have to like execute it really well and fast. Sometimes they want um, you have to be able to do like 3 or 4 to pick in a day, and you have to make them look good. And
right.
then on the illustration, you can be slow, but then still you still have a deadline. Like people will, if you do freelance, people will like, hey, can I have like 20 of these within 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Then yeah.
Right. Okay, so were you when you were a kid, when you were, I guess in school, whatever,
Mhm.
were you the kid who's always drawing all the time?
When I was oh crap, I didn't start until like fourth grade. Fourth grade till 4, 5, 6, 7, 4 to 7th grade,
Hmm.
and then in late junior high and high school, I didn't draw at all. just kind of hanging out, do nothing. And then but I still kind of doodle once in a while. And in college, I didn't draw, and I came back to draw like later when I started working already, like crunching numbers. And then I start doodle on my computer. I was like, this is boring. So I just doodle. And then apparently, I don't know what happened. I make a portfolio and I sent it to somebody, and then they found it. So I was like, okay, you want to go work for us? It's like a small game company at first, and then they went down, and I went to work for the other company that worked for stuff for Disney. So I was like, yeah, that's how it got started. But it takes a while.
Oh, cool. So you didn't go to an art school per se?
No, I didn't. I didn't really go to art school. Yeah, just kind of pick it up here and there. Yeah.
So how did you actually then gain the skills? How did you gain the knowledge?
Pretty much internet. I just look at a bunch of like people, like Cjun.com or concept art, and then just kind of looking around. But I always like looking at painting, and I always do acrylic or whatever for fun. And then I didn't take it seriously until like 2023. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just like when I take it seriously, I just kind of just give it all like 200%, and then until you get there, and then
Okay, so
catch up.
When you say you take it seriously and you put in 200%, what does that actually mean? What does your day look like?
Oh, it's kind of like if you work for some company, say you work full time, then you come home and then you just dedicate your rest of the day doing it like almost every day, and you get your portfolio put together. And then once you have portfolio put together, maybe within a year or two, and then you start sending it out, and then, or I take a break like 6 months, and then put that all together, and then trying to find the job. It was like a long time ago. I can't remember, but yeah. Yep.
And how did you end up at ArenaNet then?
The company that we work with, they make game for Disney, it went out of business, and then I just kind of apply, and then they look at my portfolio. So I already have like 2 year experience, and then at the time, that was like way back 2004. I'm not sure, 2003, 2004. And I also I also make a portfolio for DC Comics so I went down to the convention, and then they kind of picked me up, and then I got a job at Arena at the same time. But then in video game, they pay more. So instead of doing comic, I just like, it's got health insurance and perks, so I just go with Arena.
Oh, cool. So you actually could have gone into comics instead.
Yeah, but I don't think they pay as much. Not that but.
I've heard that it's just tons and tons of work.
It's just like pages, compare, and you have to get your own insurance. So I was like, screw this. Video game, pay more.
But so for a while there, you were on freelance though, right?
No, I wasn't on any freelance at all before that. I was working with a children game company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what led you to start iDrawGirls.com and also the YouTube channel?
Good question. I was just kind of doing it for fun, and then some people will come to my website and just leave, kind of like email me and ask like, hey, how do you do this, do that? And then plus throughout the years, I'll always go look at Spart, Val, David Lovey, and Darkman Die. A bunch of those guys' website, they have like a step-by-step, which is sort of like a step 1, step 2, step 3 in an image. And I saw some video, like on YouTube or on some Norman or something. And then I kind of like start, way back in the day, they don't have these kind of things. So it's like, I might as well do it, on YouTube so people can like see the process. That's how I learned, because I didn't, officially go to school. So that's how I learned. So I kind of like, maybe I'll, pass that on to somebody. Maybe somebody like me will pick it up, and then they'll be better. Yeah.
Right. So you weren't really thinking in terms of, using it to make money or anything.
That come after. You just kind of like, I didn't know it could, but then, you start kind of, it become like a hobby that, like YouTube pay a little bit too. So it's kind of, it's not bad.
Right. And you were one of the first guys, I think, who was offering tutorials that were like $10 and you could get the whole thing. And it's
Yeah,
like 3 hours of content. I remember when I first started picking up your tutorials, and then you
yeah,
had
because
like,
like what I got from the normal DV, they were like $45 or $50 or something. So I was like, oh my god, this is expensive. So I just might as well make a little one for people who's like, hey, if you want 3 hours, then this is what I do for work, and so I just so a lot cheaper. It might not, yeah. So I
okay.
just kind of learned from those, and then spending 3 hours, and then on the tutorial, and then I was like, maybe I just give it that sort of, so it's easier for people, because back then YouTube didn't have. Back then you can post like 6 minutes on YouTube. When I started this website with the longer video,
Right,
remember,
right.
like way back, yeah, they
Yeah,
said you
there
can't
was a
even have
limit
10 minutes. Yeah, it's
unless
like
you were a
6 minutes.
partner. And then if you're a
But no,
partner.
even if you're a partner, because I've been partner since the beginning. But even if you're a partner, you still only can have like 6 minute time frame.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Yeah. So then
yeah,
it forces you to make a very compact video.
yeah. Because I think you can be a partner. I was a partner since I have like 5,000 subscribers,
Hmm.
and then and back then you used to only have like a 6 minute max or something like that. But now you can have like 2 hours, I think.
I saw someone
Yeah.
posted like a 6 hour hangout they
Oh my
did
god,
on
that's so
YouTube.
long.
So,
Yeah. My
yeah.
last video was like 20 minutes, I think. That was like the longest one I made on YouTube. Yeah.
So, something that I find interesting about your work is that it seems like you have your painting and then you do have that comic influence. And
Oh yeah.
you did Kapow Express.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about how that started? And
Oh, I have this idea of like giant panda and the kung fu girls for like way back, and then um I think, what is that thing? The panda thing came out, so I just eliminated the panda
oh,
and
Kung
have
Fu
to kind of
Panda.
like, yeah, because I had that idea for a long time. I was like, damn it, somebody use a panda. And then, um, yeah, and yeah, it was like a comic that I had this idea for like since way back 2002, 2004, somewhere around there. I never finished it. It just that idea in the head, and then I working, and then I have to work, and a bunch of people, like I was gonna work on it, but then now there's a bunch of freelance coming in, and never get a chance to really do it. But eventually I'll finish it. Eventually.
So do you have, because you mentioned some of your influences and a lot of those were like on the concept side or the painting side. Do you have influences from the comic book side as well? That
Comic book side, probably when I was growing up, because I was growing up in the Far East. There's mostly manga, and then Chinese comic book. They're kind of different. Usually I read growing up probably Dragon Ball, City Hunter, Cobra, Sanctuary, Crying Freeman, a bunch of different variety, and that's a lot of them. 10, 20 years ago, I can't remember it, but that's as far as I. And probably my favorite guy was the guy that do Crying Freeman, and the guy that do Cobra, the space pirate, and Toriyama Akira was sort of my favorite too, and then the Ghost in the Shell, sort of. But I lean toward more a realistic style way back. I mean, I like manga style. I like Ranma. That's got a pretty good style. But I try to lean toward like City Hunter, or the guy that did the Blade Immortal was pretty good too. It's a more recent one.
right.
But then if you look at the Space Pirate Cobra, those are leaning toward more realistic stuff. And then Crying Freeman or Sanctuary, those are leaning toward a little off. But they're also manga, but different kind of manga. And that's why when people over here say manga and they don't really see what they have over there in Japan, and or in Taiwan, Hong Kong, they have a bunch of realistic Asian type of comic also.
Right.
And it's comic over there is more like a norm. It's not like, hey, you have to go to a comic book store. It's on a newsstand. You can just, when you're back to school, you can just buy it, just like a newspaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you also read like kung fu novels?
Yeah, pretty much. Way back was Storm Rider. Yeah.
So I don't think I asked. What country did you grow up in?
China, and then Bangkok, and then went to Britain, and then I came here.
Oh wow! So you moved around a lot. So was it all your family moving around, or?
It depends on the place. It's kind of a long story, complicated. But originally, I'm from Fujian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did you end up in Seattle then? Was that because of work?
No, school and then work. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're teaching right now, but you're also working. Are you working full time for?
What do you mean full time? Like spend a lot of? You could say that, because I took on like a few companies at a time nowadays, but I'm not like particularly with any particular company. So I'm just freelancing probably full time. I'm freelancing for square-enix, Paizo, Cryptozoic, and then that's a couple more. But it's kind of like I take whatever a batch of job that I can take at the time, and then I'll just somebody will contact you, email you, and say, hey, can you do this batch? And then you be like, hey, I can do this much or whatever. And yeah, it depends on. I mean, if you work with a lot of people, you got creative enough, and then a lot of people in the industry, game, whatever, book covers, or anything, then when you work for them once and you're good enough, then you have them in the book, and then you will have a lot of client list, and then you can just pick and choose which one you want to work for at what time. But then I always like trying to work with most of them at a time if I can.
Cool. Okay, so when I first saw your work, actually what I saw a lot of was figure drawing. Do you want to explain a little bit about figure drawing, what that does for your art?
Actually, everything about figure. I don't remember looking at anatomy book or anything like that. Once in a while I have to do like a lot of detail, but I usually just draw it out. And live drawing will help you understand like how muscle overlap and how the body really actually work, especially when you are an animator, like 2D animator, or and you draw, you have to like make a frame really quick. So it helps a lot with the figure. Yeah. And usually I like doing gesture the best, because I don't have a lot of patience, and then I like speed painting. So that's and then when it's a longer pose, I tend to kind of slack off and not doing really well. That's why I'm not a really good 3D artist, because it takes a lot more time.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like you don't have a lot of patience.
No, I don't. I just like whoop it out really quick and then it works. So it doesn't. That's all it is.
Yeah, I hear you. I can't stand tedious rendering.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work for like if you concept artist, you have to like just boop boop. But sometimes there's some exceptional, like if I have to do like trading cards or book cover, then I'll spend a lot more time on that. But it usually is based on like a really good comp or something. You do like 3 or 4 comp, and if you have a really good lighting, you pick a good one that you really want to work on, and then you work on that. It's a lot better that way because you want to see it done. Yep.
Right. So do you still do life drawing often?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you keep it up. And how often?
Usually, probably once a week.
Once a week?
Yeah. Usually like gesture or I'm not trying. I'm trying not to win over the session that had over 15 minutes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, usually life drawing places have different timed sessions. You have longer
Yeah,
pause
and
sessions.
in Seattle, there's a lot. There's a university that have that, and then there's a private session that holds. So I can pick to go either Wednesday, Thursday, or Saturday, Sunday, or even Monday and Tuesday. I think you have to look around, Google it, and then you find something.
Right.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and is there any advice you could give to someone who's, let's say someone decides, okay, I'm going to do life drawing, and they go for the first time, and they try drawing the model, and they think, I suck. This isn't working.
Every first time or the first year, everybody suck.
Right.
You have to like stick to it. It's not about of the matter like if you don't want to impress anybody, you just go there and just enjoy it.
Right.
It's like if you want to go there and like, hey, you want to make it look good. Of course, you want to make it look good, but then it won't. Sometimes it would just be like, hey, it just look the way it is. Like most of the time when I draw, I don't really like them. I just like draw because I enjoy it and I try to make it look better. Like the next time, always get better and better than the last time. It doesn't always happen, but that's what you're trying to do. That's what That's what I think. That's the purpose of being a good artist, is to trying to get better than where you started, or get better than the last point you take it off from. Just kind of like pushing it, because this is art. Art is sort of like an athlete, but there is no end to it, because your physical don't get old. Like if you're a basketball player or a football player, maybe when you pass 30 or 40, your physical can't really push
Right.
through your prime anymore. But when you're doing art, you can do it like a lot longer time. As long as you keep pushing it, you get better.
Right.
But until you can't hold brush anymore,
Or your
it's
eyes
too bad.
fail you, or
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and it's cool that you mentioned like an athlete, because that's kind of how I think of life drawing. It's like weight training.
Yeah, you just have to like because if you really want a job in the industry, or if you really want to turn pro, or you think this if you're doing it as a hobby, that you do whatever, nobody cares. But if you want to like really doing it, then you're gonna have to like train like a real person training for whatever job. Like you have to spend 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, or 8 or 10, because when you actually start working, you're going to be spending 10 hours or 12 hours, and then and first when you get a job, you probably won't get to the position that you want unless you like super good already.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have to like climb up the ladder, and then some people will never get there, some people will get there, who knows. It's like a corporate ladder, and then you might not get to do what you like, and so a lot of time you get to do what you like if if they decide, hey, I like this guy doing this, and then you get to do whatever. But just be persistent, and just put your whole self into it. Just like, hey, just give it all, then the world will give it back to you.
Right. Have you used any of the online, like there's Pose Maniacs, Love Castle?
No, those it's not the same. It's not even close. I've seen those like 3D rotating around. It's still on the screen, but when you go to the live drawing, the actual live drawing, and you see a person, you go there a lot all the time, and you just like you see the movement, you see the muscle, you see how the shadow reflects and how the shadow casts, and if you go and I used to go to a lot of like a light painting session, and then you have to squint and simplify a lot of things. It's nothing like it. It's probably the better than classroom if you're not doing like industrial design, like for illustration or for anatomy. Light drawing is probably the best.
Right.
Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who maybe wants to go life drawing, but they're a bit shy, they're a bit afraid that they're going to be seeing naked people, and
Don't worry about it. It's fine. People do it for centuries. If you're shy, doesn't mean you don't love what you do enough. If you like what you do enough, you do whatever it takes to get to do it. Then
yeah. I
It's
think
like
it's
the love of drawing.
it's kind of funny explaining to my friends who aren't in art, and they say like, "Oh yeah, you look at like naked people," and I feel like telling them like, "No, actually, I look at shadow shapes."
Yeah,
like,
it's, you know, just
they,
people are naked, and it's fine.
right. Okay, so you have a YouTube audience.
Oh, they have a costume session too. Like some of them have like, you know, costume session like burlesque or something. If you don't want to see naked people, then you can go to a session that they do costume, usually painting. It's fine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have a pretty big YouTube following, and I'm sure you get asked certain questions, you know, all the time.
Yeah. Most of the time, they're the same exact question.
Exactly. So, what is your most common, you know, questions, and maybe you could just answer it?
What program do you use? And what brush do you use?
Right.
It's like, great, guys. Thanks a lot. But just read down a little bit, then you find out. But usually I answer them all or try. I attempt. But as for brush, I'm just going to tell you this. If you can use round brush, soft and hard, just use default. And then if you use default and you get the result you want, then you know you can use whatever brush. That it's not really about the brush. The fancy brush come later. Like in the beginning of like way back when I start painting, I try to use fancy brush. It doesn't work. Just like, hey, you don't really know how the edges work and how value works. So when you have like a bunch of brush and it's just like, oh, we should do this and do that. Without understanding those foundation, then it's gonna be really hard. So once you get a hang of like a default, just use round brush or flat brush, then you'll be fine.
And
those fancy brush will just kind of help you get there faster. Those are like shortcuts.
Right, so don't rely on shortcuts and learn your foundations.
Yeah. I mean, rely on shortcuts when you have deadlines.
Yeah.
If you don't have any deadlines, just, you know, keep learning.
Cool. And is there any last advice you want to give? Anything you want to say to viewers?
Just draw and paint. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad.
All right, guys. So you heard it here. Drugs are bad, and draw and paint. All right. Well, thank you.
Just keep drawing.
Thanks so much for talking with me.
Thank you for the interview. And this is awesome. And your work has come a long way too, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, your work is just. I just have to keep working to catch up to you.
Everyone have to keep working to, you know.
Yeah.
To catch up to everyone.
Everyone's catching. Yeah. And then there's Jamie Jones. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. And thanks to all the people who are watching this. And again,
thanks everyone.
Again.
Hello.
Real quick, where can people find you?
YouTube, iDrawGirls. And then they can go to idrawgirls.com or theartclasses.com.
Cool.
And you'll find something. You won't find me, but you'll find stuff.
I'll post all the links in the description below.
Thank you.
So that's not going to be a problem. And yeah, thanks. So see you, everybody.